The Unrestful Spirits, a Southern Vietnamese ghost story. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Dat Dong Radio. Tonight, we are once again joined by an author who has not appeared on our channel for a very long time. In the early days, he contributed several works to us. That author is Tu Hoa Long. Today, he returns with a brand new collection of short ghost stories. In this video, we will explore 3 supernatural tales from the Mekong Delta. Hui has given the collection a common title, The Unrestful Spirits. Now let us begin with the very first story. The river's restless soul. Hoa hated the smell of the Mekong. It was a pungent, overwhelming odor, a mixture of raw mud, decaying leaves, stagnant yellow water, and endless dampness that seemed to seep into every plank of wood and thatch wall. Growing up in bustling Saigon, where the air was thick with car exhaust and burning concrete, Hoa found this countryside scent foreign, even suffocating. Koa, a young geologist working for a large construction company, had been assigned to Di Thanh, a rural district in Houjiang province, to conduct surveys for a major project, the construction of a modern cable-stayed bridge. The bridge would replace a rickety ferry crossing and become both a symbol of progress and a source of pride for the region. For Koa, this was a career milestone, another step toward advancement. But for the locals, it was both a beacon of hope and an intrusion into their land. The main survey site was located on a wide stretch of river known as Koma, literally the ghost grass. The name alone was enough to stir unease. The current there was fierce, out creating hidden whirlpools that could swallow the careless. But the most unusual thing about Koma was the water hyacinths. Unlike in other places where they drift lazily downstream, here they clumped together into massive, dense mats, floating like mobile islands. Their lush green leaves were dotted with delicate purple blossoms, deceptively beautiful on the surface. Beneath, however, lay a tangled world of roots and muck, ready to ensnare and swallow anything unfortunate enough to fall in. "Be careful on this stretch of river, young man," warned Uncle Tu Trail, the boatman hired by the company to ferry Koa around. He took a deep drag of his home-rolled cigarette as he spoke. "People talk a lot about this place. Even the best swimmers here won't dare fool around in Koma." Koa only smirked. He believed in science, in data, in analysis charts. The current might be stronger than elsewhere, yes, but with proper equipment and safety gear, there was nothing to fear. Uncle Tu said nothing more. He quietly steered the boat through a narrow gap between 2 floating mats of hyacinth, his eyes fixed on the weeds along the bank with a look of unspoken unease. The first few days went smoothly for Koa. He used sonar to scan the riverbed, collected soil samples, and took meticulous notes. The work was monotonous and lonely. The only relief came in the evenings when he could see Mai, the niece of the woman who owned the small shop where he lodged.
The River's Restless Soul, Part 2. Mai was a kindergarten teacher with gentle eyes and a warm smile. Unlike the sophisticated city girls Kwa had dated before, Mai possessed a natural charm, the simple beauty of a daughter of the Mekong. Sometimes she brought him a glass of chilled lotus seed sweet soup, other times a plate of palm sugar sponge cake. She would tell him stories about the region, about the floating season, about orchards heavy with fruit, about the folklore of her people. Kwa loved listening to her. He found himself gradually growing fond of her accent, her way of speaking, her down-to-earth kindness. Slowly, even the pungent smell of wet soil no longer felt unbearable. One moonlit evening, while they sat on a stone bench by a small canal glittering under the night sky, Mai suddenly asked, open quote, "You work near Koma River Bend. Have you seen anything strange?" Close quote. Kwa laughed. "Strange? What do you mean?" Mai lowered her voice. "Grandmother told me the waters there have eyes, especially on full moon nights. People say they often hear singing." "Singing?" Kwa frowned. "It's probably someone playing the radio on a passing boat. You don't really believe in ghosts, do you?" But Mai didn't smile. She gazed at him with quiet reproach. "Don't joke about this. It isn't a matter to joke about." Then, in a hushed, almost trembling voice, she told him the story. The legend of Utra. Decades ago, there lived in Di Thanh a girl named Utra. She was said to be the most beautiful maiden of the region, skin as pale as coconut milk, hair long and black as midnight. But what made her unforgettable was her voice. sweet as sugarcane roasted over fire. When she sang, birds stopped chirping, fish stilled their fins, and Utra fell in love with the second son of a wealthy landowner from the neighboring province. He too was enchanted by her beauty and voice, swearing eternal devotion, making promises of marriage, but his family forced him to wed the daughter of another powerful household. By then, Utra was already carrying his child. One stormy night, he lured her to Koma River Bend. No one knows exactly what happened, only that after that night, Utra vanished. The young master claimed she had run away with another man, but weeks later, people began to hear her singing again, drifting from the mats of hyacinth at night. Her voice, mournful and bitter, like a curse, like a call from the grave. They said Utra's soul could not pass on, that the roots of the hyacinth had trapped her beneath the river, her spirit fused into the weeds, turning into something the villagers now feared, the hyacinth ghost. She hated men who betrayed women and envied those who were happy. Anyone who heard her singing and followed the sound would be dragged beneath the water. Their life ended in the grasp of roots and mud. Koa tried to dismiss the tale with a skeptic's mind, but a chill still crept down his spine as he stared across the moonlit river. The massive mats of hyacinth lay silent in the distance, resembling the scaly hide of some slumbering leviathan. He reassured himself it was just folklore, a tragic tale spun to explain the many drownings at the treacherous river bend. But soon, Kwa would learn how terribly wrong he was.
The River's Restless Soul, Part 5. The first tragedy came with Tung, the spoiled son of a wealthy orchard owner in the village. Tung was infamous for his indulgent ways, changing girlfriends as easily as one changes shirts. He often sped through the canals on his Yamaha-powered motorboat, leaving trails of noise and wake, boasting of his conquests. One Saturday night, after a drinking party at the karaoke bar in the market, Tung bragged to his friends that he would seduce the new kindergarten teacher who had just come to town. As he spoke, he cast a provocative glance at Koa, for everyone knew Koa and Mai were growing close. Koa chose silence and quietly walked away. That very night, Tung never returned home. The next morning, villagers found his boat lodged deep within a massive mat of hyacinth in the middle of Koma River. The engine was still running, but Tung was gone. Authorities were called. Divers searched the area all day, but the riverbed was too deep, tangled with dead tree roots. Nothing was found. The official report concluded it was a tragic accident, a drunken young man fallen into the current, carried away. But whispers in the village told another story. They said Tung had been claimed by the hyacinth ghost. Mai's grandmother muttered darkly, open quote, he offended the river's spirit. He had to pay the price, close quote. Koa tried to brush aside such superstitions. He focused on his work, taking extra care to wear his life jacket and finish before nightfall. But soon, even he began to notice things he could not explain. At times, while staring at his sonar screen, he would hear a faint melody, distant, fragile, yet piercing, as if carried from some ancient memory. A woman's voice, high and clear, filled with sorrow. He looked around, but the river was empty, no boats in sight. He told himself it was the wind, or perhaps his imagination, infected by Mai's tale. But then his equipment began recording anomalies. Amid the jagged contours of the riverbed, strange shapes would sometimes appear. Not tree roots, not rocks, but long, soft, shifting forms, almost like something alive. Each time he maneuvered the boat closer, the shapes vanished. One dusk, as he packed his gear, something pale floated toward the hyacinths nearby. Curious, Kwa reached out with a pole and pulled it closer. It was a white silk al-baba blouse, old and worn, yet still intact. A chill raced through him. He remembered Mai's story of Utra. Just then, the singing rose again, louder than ever. Not from afar this time, but from right beneath the water beside his boat. Open quote, ja de kai troy, rauраmalai, chiu de danke. Close quote. The lullaby was haunting, entrancing. Koa froze, staring into the water. Beneath the black tangle of hyacinth roots, a woman's face appeared. Deathly pale, long black hair floating like strands of weed. Her eyes wide, hollow, boring into him. Her lips moved, whispering the lullaby that chilled his soul. Koa screamed, stumbling backward into the boat. He shut his eyes, trembling. When he dared open them, the vision was gone. Only the rippling surface remained, the white blouse slowly sinking out of sight. Heart pounding, he seized the motor, racing away at full throttle, never once looking back at Koma and the ghostly song fading into the encroaching night. The River's Restless Soul, Part 4. That night, Kwa could not sleep. He tossed and turned, haunted by the face beneath the water, by the lullaby echoing endlessly in his head. The rational side of him struggled against the primal fear he had felt. Perhaps it was an illusion, born of exhaustion. Perhaps a log had simply resembled a human form, but no reasoning could erase the terror that had carved itself into his bones. The next morning, he confided everything to Mai. To his surprise, she did not act shocked. She simply clasped his trembling hands, her face pale with worry. Open quote, "I told you, didn't I? Utra has noticed you now. You're an outsider digging into her resting place. She won't leave you alone. You must be careful." Close quote. "But what can I do?" Koa asked helplessly. "I can't just abandon the project, but how can I keep working under this kind of horror?" Mai thought for a moment. Maybe we should talk to Uncle Tu Trail. He has lived on the river his entire life. Perhaps he knows what must be done. Uncle Tu's stilt house stood by a narrow canal, removed from the bustle of the hamlet. The modest dwelling smelled faintly of dried fish and tobacco. When Koa and Mai arrived, the old man was mending a fishing net, his eyes squinting toward the water. After hearing Koa's account, the singing, the vision beneath the river, the white blouse, Uncle Tu slowly set down his net. There was no fear in his expression, only a heavy, resigned solemnity. Open quote, "So, she still hasn't found peace. You see, lad? There's a reason they call her the Hyacinth Ghost. Utra's soul has merged with the river and the weeds. She is no longer just a wandering spirit. She has become a force of the water itself. Pitiful, but dangerous." Close quote. He explained that ever since his own childhood, people had whispered the tale of Utra. Many young men, emboldened by drink or bravado, had dared to row into Koma at night, seeking to test their courage. Some never returned. Those who were found were always the same, their bodies tangled tight in hyacinth roots, lungs and mouths filled with mud. Uncle Tu sighed. She despises men, especially outsiders who come here with promises, only to betray. That tongue fellow, his philandering ways provoked her wrath. And you are here to build a bridge, to drive iron pillars into the very place where she lies. You are invading her home. She will not stand for it. Koa swallowed hard. Then, what must I do? Abandon everything? Leave this place? Uncle Tu shook his head slowly. No, running will not help. Once her resentment clings to you, it will follow wherever you go. There is only one way. You must appease her. Show her the respect and compassion she was denied in life. Only then might she relent. But even before they could act, Ucha's spirit had already chosen to make her move. The River's Restless Soul, Part 5. That night, a violent storm swept across the delta. The wind howled like 1,000 wailing souls, and rain battered the tin roofs like sheets of steel. Kwa sat in his small rented room, desperately trying to call his supervisors in Saigon to report the strange occurrences. But the signal faltered, then died completely. Suddenly, he heard a knock at the door. "Who is it?" he called out. No reply, only the steady, deliberate sound of knuckles rapping against the wood. Peering through a crack, Koa glimpsed a dark figure standing outside, drenched in rain. Thinking it might be Mai, worried for him, he hurried to open the door. But there was no one there, only the empty yard, rain pouring in sheets. Yet on the wet cement ground lay a trail of tiny, bare footprints, muddy and fresh, leading from the canal all the way to his door. Koa slammed the door shut and bolted it, heart hammering wildly. He knew who it was. Sound of dripping water. Then he heard it, the sound of trickling water. But it wasn't outside. It was coming from within his own bathroom. Terrified, he forced himself to step closer. The bathroom door was ajar. He nudged it open. The basin was overflowing with black, foul water, bubbling with muck. Floating upon it were delicate purple blossoms of hyacinth. From beneath, not water, but thick sludge seeped upward, filling the air with the stench of decay. Koa staggered back in horror. On the bathroom mirror, fogged with condensation, a message had appeared in crude, dripping strokes. "Return the river to me." At that very moment, the power went out. The entire village plunged into suffocating darkness. The only sounds left were the roar of rain, the wail of the wind, and the ghostly singing, no longer mournful but furious, echoing in every corner of the room. Panicked, Koa grabbed a flashlight and bolted outside into the storm. He had to reach Mai's house. He couldn't face this alone, but when he arrived, he froze in shock. The small canal in front of her home, usually calm and narrow, was now completely clogged by an enormous mass of hyacinth. Under the strobing flashes of lightning, he saw the plants moving, not drifting with the current, but writhing as if alive. Their long roots rose above the surface like serpents, slithering toward the shore. The lullaby had become a scream, shrill and unhinged, resounding across the storm. Koa realized he was surrounded. The spirit would not let him leave. She wanted to drag him into the depths, to end him there. In his terror, he heard Mai's voice from inside the house, shouting through the storm, open quote, Koa, run, go to Uncle Two's. Close quote. Her words jolted him from paralysis. He turned and fled, slipping and stumbling along the muddy path toward Uncle Two Treo's stilt house. Behind him came the slithering scrape of roots across the earth, the song of the dead in relentless pursuit. By the time he burst through Uncle Two's door, he was soaked, covered in mud, trembling like a hunted animal. Mai was already there, having taken a longer path by land. She and Uncle Two stared at him, their faces taut with dread. Open quote. She blocked my way, Koa gasped. She won't let me leave, close quote. Uncle Two peered out into the storm, his expression grave. Open quote. Her fury has reached its peak. Tonight, she intends to finish it. We have no choice. We must perform the rite now. Tas the River's Restless Soul, Part C. Koa stared at the old man in shock. A rite? What kind of rite? At a time like this? Uncle Two's eyes were steady. Open quote, a guiding rite. We cannot exorcise her. Ucha's essence has already merged with this river, with this land. To drive her away would be to fight the river itself, and that would mean certain death. No, we must not confront her. We must soothe her, lead her spirit, help her let go of her torment. Close quote. He began preparing simple offerings, humble yet rooted in the ways of the river folk. A bunch of local bananas, a plate of sticky rice cakes, a cup of rice wine, and most important of all, a bowl of sweet glutinous rice dumplings in coconut milk, lovingly prepared by Mai. The dumplings floated white and round in the milky broth, symbolizing wandering souls longing for a place of rest. Uncle Two placed them all upon a small tray. Then, from a red cloth bundle, he drew out an old bamboo flute. Open quote. This flute belonged to my father. He was once a spirit medium. He said its sound could reach across the veil between worlds. But remember, what matters most tonight is not the offerings nor the flute. It is our sincerity. Close quote. He turned to Koa. Open quote. You are the one who provoked her anger. You must be the one to present the offerings. You must kneel and with true repentance apologize, not only for yourself, but for every betrayal she has endured. Can you do that? Close quote. Koa swallowed hard, then nodded. Despite his terror, he knew this was their only chance. Uncle Two led them out to the small wooden pier behind his house. The storm still raged, wind shrieking through the palms, yet the canal before them was eerily calm, still as glass, reflecting the dim glow of the oil lamp Uncle Two carried. Open quote. She is waiting for us, the old man murmured. She is right below. Close quote. He set down the tray, lit 3 incense sticks, and began to chant. Not spells, not incantations, but plain words, humble, heartfelt. Open Utra, maiden whose soul lingers in these waters. We are but mortals. If we have trespassed, forgive us. This young man came here for work, not malice. Your grief is known to heaven and earth, but clinging to it only deepens your suffering. Please take these small offerings, listen to this humble tune, and let the great waters carry you to peace. Close quote. Then he gestured to Koa. With trembling hands, Koa lifted the tray and knelt by the edge of the pier. His voice cracked with fear, but he forced the words out. Open quote. Utra, I am sorry. Sorry for disturbing your rest. Sorry for all the pain you endured. For every false promise, every betrayal. Please forgive me. Forgive us all. May you find release. Close quote. One by one, he placed the offerings onto the water. The bananas, the cakes, the wine, and finally the bowl of dumplings. They floated gently, drifting upon the unnaturally still surface. Nothing happened. Silence hung heavy, broken only by the wail of the storm above. Open quote. She does not accept. Mai whispered, her face pale. Close quote. Uncle Two said nothing. He raised the bamboo flute to his lips and began to play. The melody was not complex, just the simple folk tune of Lee Kon Sao. At first, the notes quivered, uncertain, but gradually they grew steady, mournful, full of yearning. It was not defiance, it was empathy, a sharing of sorrow. The water stirred, ripples spread outward. From the center of the canal, hyacinths began to rise. One cluster, then another, until they formed a vast circle. Within that circle, the water began to churn, and slowly a figure emerged. Utra. She wore her white silk blouse, long black hair flowing around her like a shroud. Her face was ghostly pale, stripped of all youthful grace, replaced by endless grief. Her eyes glistened, not with rage, but with tears. Tears that flowed into the river itself. She gazed directly at Koa, not with hatred, but with sorrow. A silent question, unspoken yet piercing. The river's restless soul parts. Uncle Too's flute keened on, its notes trembling like the cries of a wounded bird. And then, softly, Mai began to sing. It was the very lullaby that Kwa had heard drifting from the haunted river. Open quote, "The wind carries the mustard greens away to heaven, while the coriander remains to endure the bitterness below." Close quote. But unlike the spectral voice, Mai's singing was pure and tender, brimming with compassion. Her voice intertwined with the flute, weaving sorrow and solace into the night. The storm seemed to falter, its rage softening. Utra's ghostly form trembled, her lips moved, echoing the lullaby. For a moment, her mournful wail harmonized with Mai's gentle song, two voices, one tormented, one consoling. The circle of hyacinths glowed faintly in the stormlight. Slowly, her eyes softened. The hatred melted away, leaving only loneliness and an aching yearning for release. Tears streamed down her pale cheeks, merging with the river. Her body began to dissolve. First the flowing hair, then the white blouse, then the sorrowful face itself. The hyacinths drifted apart, carried gently by the current. The waters stilled once more, and Utra was gone. Uncle Tu lowered the flute, his weathered face damp with sweat and tears. Mai clutched Koa's hand, both trembling yet relieved. Open quote, "She has accepted," Uncle Tu whispered. "Her spirit has finally followed the current. She will not trouble this river again." Close quote. For a long while, the three of them stood in silence, gazing at the calm waters of Koma. Koa bowed low toward the river. Open quote, "Rest in peace, Utra." Close quote. That night, as the storm passed and the dawn broke, the river flowed as if nothing had happened. The hyacinths drifted peacefully, no longer menacing, only swaying to the rhythm of the current. But Kwa knew he would never forget the pale face beneath the water, nor the mournful song of a soul too long denied peace. And thus ended the first tale of the restless souls of the Mekong.